All wings report in.
HouseDog, standing by.
MotherGoose, standing by.
Lowtech Tuck, standing by.
Lock S-foils in attack position. Animal Squadron ready for battle.
Well, hello there, and welcome back to the Animal Squadron podcast. I am your host, HouseDog, and with me, as always, the trusting, respectable, handsome young man that he is, MotherGoose.
Hello, everybody. What's up?
Are you okay?
Trying to bring a little energy. Energy to the pod.
You're kind of zesty on that one.
Let me live my life.
A little bit of a zesty opening. Just didn't feel quite organic.
Oh, okay. Let me do another take here. Hello, everybody. It's your boy MotherGoose 27, and today we're gonna be talking about Andor, episode 6 of season 1, titled "The Eye," and yeah, I'm one of your hosts.
I think we're gonna have to take it again. Everybody knows your natural speaking voice isn't that deep.
What? This is news to me.
You know, you try to do something, you try to make something, and people just want to tear it down.
That's what I'm saying.
I've always had a theory that you've been secretly sabotaging the pod. And
Yeah.
now I have evidence.
Yeah, every single episode, I leave in subliminal messages saying, "Never listen to this podcast ever again. And we hate you, and we think your farts smell." That's what the secret messages say.
It's in the last 5 seconds of every podcast, isn't it?
No, it's looped the entire time. The audience is just constantly hearing it. They just don't realize it.
What happens if you listen to the podcast backwards?
Some cult stuff you don't want to know.
I think I've been programmed.
Well, hey, so today, like I said, we are talking about Andor episode 6, The Eye. Real quick, you and I have talked about this off pod, so I won't really go in depth, but I just wanted to tell our audience that I did go back and I have finished Star Wars Outlaws. Almost every single issue that we had when we recorded our episode on it has been fixed. The big one for me is now you can hold your secondary weapons, and there's a way to recharge their ammo so you don't have to constantly drop them. And that's just one tiny thing on top of a ton of other things that they've really improved. So, audience, if you didn't really like Outlaws originally, I would say go give it another shot. It is so much better now.
The card game was still my whole favorite thing about that entire game.
Dude, same. And if you pick it up now, you can play against Lando. And he teaches you some new cheating techniques. So,
Well, if you're not cheating, you're not trying.
that's what I'm saying. Anyway, I just, we had some pretty big critiques of the game initially, and I just felt like it was fair to share the news that this team has worked really hard to improve it, and you can really feel that while playing.
If only they just released a game at launch that didn't suck.
That's what I'm saying. But Ubisoft just put out a statement where they're like, hey, we learned that delaying our games and making sure that they're ready at launch makes us more money. So we're just going to do that from now on. And they delayed all of their upcoming games. So should it have taken them this long to learn that lesson? No, but at least they've learned it now.
Yeah, sure. Just like EA learned about microtransactions in games.
Yeah.
It's all because of GTA getting pushed back another year.
Yep.
I guarantee you.
Oh, yeah. And it's so funny because a lot of games, I think, purposely delayed themselves to not release around GTA, and now will be releasing around GTA because it got delayed as well.
I don't know. The gaming industry is just... It's fallen far.
Yeah.
But everybody was super excited for Cyberpunk, and I was excited for that game, and then whenever it dropped, I was like, yeah, I wanted to play the game. I wanted to play the game really bad. It was fun. It was a good time, but it was just so bad that I was like, the frustration for me playing this game over things that are not my fault are not worth the time that I'm putting into it, and just never picked it up again.
I completely agree. That Cyberpunk was my most anticipated game of that year. I literally had been waiting for it since it did its initial announced trailer, which was like 8 years before launch, I believe. And same thing with Outlaws. Outlaws was pretty rough at launch. Battlefront 2 was pretty rough at launch. But all of these games, well, Battlefront 2 is better, but it kind of got canceled before it got its chance to really see the light of day. But Cyberpunk and Outlaws have really improved. And I think you, the audience, of course, but also you, HouseDog, would really enjoy both of them if you gave them another shot.
I did see a video about Outlaws, and I meant to ask you about it the other day, about how they fix some things, and I was like, maybe I'll check it out. I don't know.
Yeah, the positivity around the game, like, it's been a complete 180 from the community. I have not seen one negative review that was made recently. But yeah, sorry to get us on this tangent. We're here to talk about Andor, and now that we've officially finished the Aldani arc, I can confidently say I like it so much better than I did the first time around.
I think I'm right there with you as well. It was a lot better this time around, and I had forgotten things.
Me too. Like, I had forgotten how Nemec died. That was
I knew he died, but
rough.
I couldn't remember how either.
Yeah.
I thought he got shot.
And then Skeen betraying the group, I'd forgotten about that as well.
Mm-hmm. I did too.
But yeah, I still wouldn't say it's my favorite arc of season 1, but it's a lot higher. Like, I probably would have put it at like C or B tier, and now I would say probably B or A pretty confidently.
I also want to point out that this is a very long episode. If you cut out credits, the intro and the end credits, let's see, it picks up about the 2.5 minute mark is where it starts, and it ends at about 46:50.
So it's about 45 minutes roughly.
A solid 45 minutes of show.
Which I am a huge believer that these Star Wars shows need to be about this length. The whole, like, I'm watching through Acolyte again, which I'm really enjoying, but a couple of the first episodes are like 30 minutes, and when you cut out the intro and outro, it literally brings it down to 24 minutes, and it's like, that is not long enough to tell these stories.
No, it's really not. You don't get enough from characters that you'd like to know more about.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of story building, which I think was one of my biggest complaints with Acolyte.
Yeah.
There wasn't enough story building with people. It was kind of just like, hurry up and get to the next part.
Right.
Whereas Andor has spent a lot of time building characters that they could just be in a singular episode. I mean, but all the characters we've met so far have continued on.
Yeah.
Through the arcs and the episodes, and they've built around those characters and done it really well.
Yeah. We've said it in previous episodes, but I am a strong believer that 12 episodes is the right number for the Star Wars shows. 8 just isn't enough to really tell these stories. And I think Andor is a perfect example of why the 12 episode structure works so well.
Mm-hmm. A lot of things get left on the cutting room floor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Again, we've said it before, but imagine if this was only 8 episodes and all of the arcs got cut down to 2 episodes instead of 3.
Mm-hmm. Specifically with this episode, I don't think we would have gotten as much with the Aldani people, which I think was very instrumental in this episode and important.
Yeah, I agree. The shots of them just like cutting to them dancing, really showing off their culture, and then when we actually see the eye, we get just a couple shots of them crying, and that's really good cinematography that, you're completely right, would not have been there if it was cut down.
What struck you about this? I'll kind of let you lead this episode if you'd like.
I really think Andor is coming into his character, right? At the start of this series, he's in a very different spot than we see him in Rogue One, and I think this arc really explains how he changes into the rebel. Of course, next arc is probably even more important to that, but we'll get there when we get there. But actually having him interact with these characters, get to know them, and then we really get to see the impact of, is it Tamarin?
Which one?
Not
The
Gorn.
other black guy?
Yeah, but the one that was leading
Yeah.
Andor's squad, he gets shot. Nemec dies pretty horrifically. Skeen betrays the group, and we really get to see how that impacts Andor. Like, at the end of the episode, you can tell he's freaking out. He just wants out.
Mm-hmm. Things have gone way farther than what he signed up for.
Right. And, I mean, I think it was a really impactful moment when he gives Vel the Kyber crystal. He says, give this back to your guy. He is so freaked out that he's willing to give up that extra, 50,000 credits?
Yeah, I think 30 or 50.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It was a lot of money.
Which, I mean, that was the whole plan originally. It was just essentially a loan, and Luthen was supposed to get it back, but he could have just walked away. He could have just said, I'm taking what's owed and the crystal. And I don't think Vel couldn't have stopped him, but he still did because he was trying to cut as many ties as possible.
Yeah. I mean, that just whole ending scene was really good.
What about you? Anything really stick out for you?
All the stuff with the Aldani people, I really enjoyed, especially the scenes with the head Imperial of the base and Gorn.
Oh, yeah.
Those interactions I thought were really cool. Of that guy's not a colonel. The guy that's visiting is a colonel.
Right, because Gorn's a corporal.
He's a lieutenant.
He's okay. And then, so the guy who runs the base, that would be the corporal, right?
No, corporal's lower than lieutenant.
Gotcha. 'Cause
Corporal's like pretty low.
Gotcha. Okay. I thought somebody was yelling corporal during the theft, but I guess I'm remembering wrong.
I don't know. Either way, the fat white guy,
Yeah.
the scenes with him I thought were really good, just talking about the people. And whenever the colonel's like first visiting there, they're talking about how they've basically eliminated the Aldani people from the planet at this point. And by the end of this year, like, they'll probably all be gone.
Not eliminated, like killed, but just like worked it out so that they're not coming to this specific location, right?
From what I get, they're like pretty much gone at this point.
Gotcha.
Like, the people have dwindled so hard. Like, what it sounded like was through this limiting their like population to coming to this event, they set things up to where they're in this really small area.
Yeah.
Their numbers have just dwindled so far to where now there's like not that many of them. Because they're talking about how after this year, they're going to be changing the planet again, like taking more area or something.
Essentially, they're telling, after this year, they're not going to allow the Aldani back into the valley. And that a whole decade ago, they set up a different viewing location, and they've been pushing the Aldani that way every year more and more, so that when they finally do shut it off and say, no, you can't come here, it won't be such a big deal because they're already used to going to the other place. Yeah, I really like the work they did in this episode with him, specifically the whole decade-long plan, and then just the way he interacts with his family, like him saying, oh, my belt shrunk, and his wife saying, or maybe you've expanded, which I thought was funny. But in all seriousness, though, we can tell he's not really the best father. He doesn't care that his son is sick. He's threatening to hit the kid if he doesn't show up there. And there's another line where he says, let's pretend to be our best. And the wife is like, yeah, I'd love to see that. Essentially saying, yeah, I'd love to see what you look like pretending. It's just written really well.
The character that I paid attention to most in all of those scenes was Gorn.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't remember how he reacted to this whole situation.
Right.
And I was interested to see how he was going to react whenever they brought up the Aldani people, knowing his backstory last episode and why he's now in the fight with the rebels. And the acting, the guy that played Lieutenant Gorn, I thought was perfect. Like, you could tell he was having, like, he's completely bought into the character as the character himself, as Lieutenant Gorn.
Yeah.
But playing Lieutenant Gorn as the Imperial, that, you know, he could care less about these people and they're there for a mission and they do all these things. Because he never, like, makes a face that he's upset or whatever, because the guy says some pretty, like, terrible stuff about the Aldani people, like, to the Colonel and to Gorn, and Gorn just, like, is straight-faced the entire time, which takes an incredible amount of restraint whenever you think about all the things he's gone through while he's been on Aldani for those, like, 7 or 9 years.
Yeah, he's just straight up insulting how they smell. The smell of their animals, the smell of the people in general.
I thought that was really important too, that when he's talking about the goat hides and he gives the Aldani chief the goat hides, and the chief immediately, as soon as they walk away, throws them in, like, their ceremonial fire pit.
Right.
Did you catch that part?
No, I caught what really stuck out to me there was the leader of the Aldani says something different than what Gorn tells his boss, but I didn't catch the fire part.
Yeah, as soon as the Imperials walk away after their conversation, he throws the goat hides in the fire.
And I'm really curious if this is I don't like this, like, a disrespect thing, or this is a part of their culture. That's what they just do with the goat hides, is they burn them for the eye.
No, I think going off of what was being said from the chief to the Imperial boss, it was a disrespect.
Yeah. That's fair.
But I could be wrong. Who knows?
But yeah, I really liked, because we haven't seen his boss before this episode, had we?
I think briefly.
Briefly, okay. Gotcha. But yeah, no, it was done really well. I like that there was a little bit of motivation there between him and his family. They all want to get off, so they're just doing what they need to get away from the planet, and it didn't quite work out.
Yeah. I didn't realize it till now, but thinking about the end was, and I could be reading this wrong, it's just kind of my own personal theory, I think Skeen was slowly trying to turn Andor against the rest of the group by the end of this.
Oh, like throughout the episode?
Yeah, because he starts revealing things about other members of the group to Andor throughout this episode. Like, there's a moment where they're talking about Tamarin, and Skeen tells Andor that Tamarin was a stormtrooper.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
And then he brings up Cinta. He's like, and Cinta's family was wiped out by a whole squadron of stormtroopers. He was like, that was a really interesting time whenever they first met.
Right. And then he tells Andor the Vel doesn't want to take Nemik to the doctor line as well. He didn't have to say that.
No.
But he throws her under the bus. I did not put that together. Good catch, my friend.
It could be, I could just be putting together a string that doesn't connect anywhere. But kind of looking at that and towards the end, it makes sense to kind of build that doubt in his mind.
Yeah, I mean, earlier in the episode, he wouldn't have known that only 3 of them were going to make it out. But, I mean, why not just put in that little contingency there? Especially saying we know that his brother wasn't real. He was just lying this whole time.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Another line as well that's just coming to me is he says, I'm a rebel, but it's me against everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think you're right.
I don't know. Skeen was a skeevy guy. Maybe that's not his name was Skeen.
Also,
Skeever.
maybe he was always planning to run away with the money, and that's why he was so mad initially, because it was one more person to deal with.
Things do get complicated whenever you add another person into the group.
Oh, good catch. Yeah.
I think Skeen did care about Nemik, though. I think his...
Oh, yeah.
Like, him wanting to take him to the doctor was genuine.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if Nemik was a part of his plan at some point. But Alternatively, Nimic is probably the most loyal to the rebellion. I think Skeen would have known that Nimic wouldn't have let Skeen run away with the money.
Yeah. I think he just wanted to save the kid.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Because the kid has no... I mean, everybody else is kind of a, battle-hardened person.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really remember Nemic's backstory.
I don't either. I think he does talk about it a little bit when he's talking about how evil the Empire is, but I can't recall.
Neither can I. I think he's just more of a free thinker.
Yeah.
He reminds me of like some type of war journalist or something,
Yeah.
Like people that don't really take a side on a war. I mean, obviously Nemec has taken a side on the war, but he's mostly just there to kind of flesh out the ideas and be like, this is what's happening in the galaxy.
That's a good connection because, yes, we talk a lot about the Empire is very inspired by Nazi Germany, but it's also very inspired by the American government during the Vietnam War. And George Lucas is very vocal that he did not support the war. And a lot of journalists during that time were also very vocal about not supporting the war. So I think you're right. I think Nimic could be representing the American journalists during that time.
Yeah. Oh, just a thought. Man, Star Wars is an interesting place.
For sure. Well, talking about Nimic, him and Andor have a very interesting conversation. Essentially, he's like, I thought about it, and I'm cool with you being here because we need to use any weapon we can against the Empire.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what it was, but he has a line where he says something along the lines of, they will learn. And Cassian says, you're half right. We do need to use every tool we can, but the Empire's never going to learn. And I thought that was a really good... Yeah, that was a really good conversation as well.
Mm-hmm. Because Nemic's like really nervous because it's the day of, and he's like, I can't sleep. I'm restless. And he's like, when the time comes, you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Can we talk about the eye?
You can talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Dude, this scene, not scene, but shots of the eye are so good, so beautiful. Like, even originally when I watched it and I wasn't the biggest fan of the arc, that was the one thing that really stuck out to me was the eye. And genuinely some of the best special effects, I think, in any Star Wars project. So good, so pretty.
They are very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, the chieftain keeps popping up on my screen.
No,
For a
that's
while,
okay.
I thought he was Bryan Cranston.
Oh, you're watching the episode?
Yeah. It's
Hell
not
yeah.
Bryan Cranston, but I was like, man, they should have just got Bryan Cranston to do it. That would have been cool.
Yeah. Talking about actors, I learned today that Proxy's voice actor, they were trying to get someone else, Seth something. It's a very famous actor. Can't remember what his last name was, but I just thought that was really funny because, the guy that they did have was their sound designer who actually did the sound design for Mandalorian Season 3. He just did such a good job as Proxy. I just can't imagine anyone else as Proxy.
No. Proxy is... I wish Proxy was real.
Me too, dude. Well,
I meant like canon. I wish he was canon.
Yeah. No, I wish we had droids in real life, but Proxy was had murderous intentions, so maybe not him.
He was just following his primary programming.
Listen, I'm not saying we're getting The Force Unleashed, but the director of that game, the sound designer of that game, and Sam are all working, I think, on Maul Shadow Lord right now, or some Star Wars project, so never say never.
I know. Since we're already on the tangent, might as well continue. I listened to the books a couple months ago.
Like the novel adaptations of the games?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. What did you think?
So good. They were really good. I loved them. The only problem with the second one is, there's two different endings.
Right.
And I won't spoil them for anyone that hasn't played those or listened or read the books. But it gets really confusing at the end of it because you're like, what's going on? Because it doesn't tell you, chapter 27, ending B. it just kind of keeps flowing with the story.
Wait, does it like intercut between the two different endings?
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think, again, not spoiling what actually happens, but I do think the light side ending was the canon ending.
I don't know.
And
It'd make more sense if
apparently
it was.
that ending was going to lead directly into the third game.
Yeah, the third game.
And that maybe it was going to be co-op and you could play Starkiller and Vader.
Yeah, that they were going to go on an adventure together.
Disney, it's not too late. I'm just saying it's not too late to make one more.
I don't think Disney will ever do games that aren't canon anymore.
Yeah, I agree. If they were going to do Force Unleashed, they would have to start over, which...
I think that era of Star Wars gaming is in the past, where they make games for fun, whether they're going to be canon or not.
Yeah. The canon games, I've really enjoyed. The story of the Jedi games are great. Like we talked about, I really enjoyed Outlaws. I haven't finished the Battlefront 2 campaign or the Squadrons campaign, but I enjoyed what I saw.
How have you not finished this Battlefront 2 campaign? It's been out for years, Elijah.
I made it to the Han Solo level. I feel like I was pretty close to the end. Maybe not.
I don't remember Han being in that game, but I beat that game. I beat that story in one night whenever it came out.
Yeah, and then I'm probably pretty close to beating it. Anyway, sorry, I got us on a really long tangent. Andor. The Eye.
The Eye.
Did you have anything else on The Eye?
No. It was beautiful, and I liked everything that happened inside of it while they were escaping.
Yeah, with the
because I'm
TIE
a sucker
fighters
to see inside the cockpit of a TIE fighter, man.
Yeah,
and it's one of my favorite things to see inside of Star Wars ships. Because it doesn't happen a whole lot, you know.
Yeah, just like seeing all the little bits and pieces on how it actually
all the little
works.
Buttons, and we didn't get to see like the targeting computer or anything, but like well, maybe everybody doesn't, but I do. So like all the sounds, like I knew it was happening in the TIE fighter, even they weren't showing the screen, everything. Like I knew whenever the TIE fighter was locked onto the ship, and like when they could fire and everything else. Like,
yeah,
I know all those noises.
They're so iconic.
They are.
And maybe if they had some shields, Rebels wouldn't have gotten away with so much money.
Are you referring to the TIE Defender project, sir?
Maybe. Or the TIE Avenger, or the TIE Interceptor. Literally any of the other TIEs that have shields.
It's not that they didn't have shields. They just didn't have very good shields.
Hot dookie garbage shields.
Well, it was something about... I could be wrong, and this may not be true anymore. It was something about you could... with the lasers and everything, you could only have like one activated at a time. And the reason why that the TIEs were so fast and everything is because their shields weren't that great.
Interesting. I'd always known that it was much cheaper, right? So they could have a lot more pilots in the sky or in space at one time. But yeah, I mean, if they were faster, that could be a really big advantage as well.
Yeah, they were just using the swarm method.
But yeah, I'd completely forgotten that we got to see TIEs and that there actually was a chase sequence.
For the audience, Elijah quit watching this episode about 30 minutes ago.
I'm sorry, did I miss something?
No, I'm just saying that you forgot that there were TIEs. You just watched the episode 30 minutes ago.
Oh, no, I meant before, when I'd initially watched it.
Get this guy out of here. I can't work with him anymore. Team, bring in my new co-host.
Watch me be gone next time. Watch me take a week off.
Go ahead.
Like I said, I really just did not enjoy this arc very much initially. I think I kind of just checked out, which honestly probably the worst part for me to check out of because it was the most action-packed.
It's okay.
I don't know. Like I said, I forgot how Nimic died. I forgot about the ties. I forgot they even went into the eye. I was so surprised watching this the second time.
It was a whole new show for you, wasn't it?
It's a whole new show, yeah. What else happened this episode? I forgot they left Cinta behind.
I was just about to say that. Yeah, I forgot that Cinta did not make it.
Which I struggle to believe that she actually... I mean, obviously she did. We saw it. But, like, she had 4 Imperials chained up, and she was able to just walk out scot-free without any of them escaping and saying, hey, go after that lady.
I think it's open to interpretation.
Yeah. My personal theory is I think she killed them. I think as soon as the other rebels got away, she probably killed those 4 people and then just left.
I mean, she was the only person to kill anybody.
Did they not, during the fight scene...
Oh, besides those guys in the vault. Yeah, you're right. Never mind.
But I do think there's a little bit of a difference between killing someone in an active fight and, you know, killing someone that's not aware that you're there. Again, I'm not saying one's better than the other, just it's different.
Sounds like you're supporting one way or the other, but okay.
It's just different.
No, I get what you're saying.
Also, because she killed him, and I think the other guy had a heart attack and Gorn died, not only did they walk away with 80 million credits, but they also killed 3 higher-ranking Imperial officers.
There's dozens more.
That is very true. Somebody got a really nice promotion that day.
It's not like any of them were Moffs or anything, so...
That's true. As long as none of the Moffs die, the Empire lives on.
Now, if you take down a Moff, then you start to make a dent. But you have to, like, not only kill the Moff, you have to, like, bring down his whole fleet and everything, so...
Right, because that's still a lot of soldiers that could, you know, just be transferred somewhere else to continue their reign of terror.
Exactly.
What did you think of the Doctor, the little 4-armed alien?
Dr. Quadpaw?
Was that his name?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
An interesting gentleman, of course. Another glub shido for the fans.
Gonna have me screaming in the theater when he pops up in episode...
It's Dr. Quadpaw!
Episode
it's Dr.
10.
Quadpaw!
He survived!
Your new favorite character?
I thought he was one of Maz's species until... Because they had a very similar face shape and the glasses, until obviously they zoom out. He's much taller and has 4 arms.
Yeah.
Unless, I mean, there are lots of bugs where, you know, the male and female are very, like, drastically different. That could be something. Like, maybe they're the same species, but the males are just taller and have 4 arms? I don't know.
I don't know either. But, I mean, it's Star Wars, so this guy could also just be somebody else.
Yeah. Oh, no, I just being honest, I do think it's a different species, but, you know, just throwing theories out there.
I'm wondering if... I feel like we've seen a species like that before, though, in another show.
I'll look it up and see.
Yeah, I feel like he's been around before. Not him specifically, but another of the species, whether it was in one of the sequel films or one of the new shows. But I'm not sure.
Yeah. Which
I could be wrong.
I really like that there is that these rebel cells like have secret doctors hidden away.
I mean, anybody will do anything for a price in the Star Wars galaxy, my friend.
Real. Okay, so he's a Jill Sarian? I'm looking through. Looks like all the sources are just Andor.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
But hey, you know what? We'll see him again in something at some point.
Yeah.
At least the species.
Why do I not remember whenever Gorn died?
I don't
Did
either.
Did he get shot?
I feel like I missed his death, and I was like, "Oh, well, that's okay. I'm sure Matt got it."
No, I was hoping you did.
Oops. Did he even die? Did he just like escape?
I don't know. I really don't know. Because I know Tamarin did. I remember Tamarin getting shot.
Right. I'm bringing it up now.
Yeah, I just saw Tamarin get shot, but no idea what happened to Gorn.
Yeah, I'm watching. Oh, yep, he got shot. Okay. It is a blink and you miss it scene. It's from Vel's perspective. Literally, it's over the shoulder. We're there just a second. He gets shot, cuts away to the person that shoots Vel, or shot him moving to shoot at Vel, which, I think is on one hand really great in terms of showing how chaotic a battle can be. But on the other hand, this was such an important character, maybe we should have spent just a little longer on it.
Maybe giving him something a bit more meaningful.
Yeah, because they specifically ask, where's Tamarin before they leave, but I don't think anyone asks, where's Gorn?
Like maybe just a shot of like Gorn somehow getting up to the top of the ledge or crawling outside and him getting to see the eye like one last time, and like he whispers his dead wife's name and then dies. That'd be cool.
Yeah. But I mean, it's super chaotic. I'm watching now. Andor gets attacked.
Yeah.
Almost everything that could go wrong goes wrong. So I still think they handled it well.
Yeah, and I understand the scene has to keep going.
Right.
We can't stop for everything.
Yeah. R.I.P. my boy. He was a great character.
Yeah, I think what I said would have been a much better scene, but whatever.
I liked it. I did.
Now tell Star Wars that, Elijah.
Star Wars, I liked Mac's idea. Hey, Star Wars, why don't you just go ahead and hire us?
Just me. Don't take this guy.
Leave MotherGoose out of here.
There's one thing I do. It's watch out for myself and use my friends.
I'm a rebel, all right, but it's more me against everyone else.
That's right. You and I can split this 80 million, Elijah, 40-40, and I can forget all about you.
Okay, I know we talked about it a little bit already, but good for Andor. I mean, 80 million, he could have had 40. Also, there was totally another scenario where he killed Skeen and just ran away himself and kept the whole 80 mil.
Yeah.
And he didn't.
There was 3 scenarios there. One, he kills Skeen, escapes with the 40 million, or with the 80 million. One where he takes Skeen's deal, they each take the 40 million and run, and then the one that he chose where he kills Skeen, tells Vel, and takes off on his own.
Yeah. He didn't even have to tell Vel. He could have just left.
Mm-hmm. But I feel like that would have put like a price on his head, and that's the last thing he wants to do. He just wants to escape.
He would have been...
He just wants to be done.
He would have had the Empire and the Rebels looking for him, and that would not have been great.
No, that's kind of the last thing he's looking for right now.
I did just remember a couple ending scenes. We get another speech from Mon Mothma, or I think this is her first speech of the series in the Senate, right?
I only know Mon Mothma.
Ah, yes, Mon Mothma, of course. She mentions Gorman again and how the Empire is not being nice to them.
I was really hoping for a shot of the Emperor coming out of the ground like we got in Bad Batch, that one episode.
Yeah. I don't think every Star Wars series needs to be filled with cameos, but I do think the Emperor's presence could have worked really well in some of these Senate scenes.
Mm-hmm. Like exactly how they did it in that episode of Bad Batch, whenever it's a Senate meeting and he comes out of the ground to spin things.
Right. The way he twists the destruction of Kamino was, I mean, awful, but really good writing.
Masterful.
Yeah. I think Tony Gilroy and his team could have done some really interesting things with Palpatine in this series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would have been cool.
And then, of course, news breaks about the robbery. We get a scene with the Imperials. I don't really think anything specific stuck out to me in this scene. Did anything stick out to you?
No. Just more of they are noticing what's going on and things aren't random. They're too random to be random, Elijah.
Right. But the one that really stuck out to me out of these 3 kind of reaction shots, because that's what's happened in Mon Mothma's scene, is the Senate finds out about the robbery and nobody's paying attention to her anymore. But Luthen is the one that really stuck out to me because we have just the random guy asking about Aldhani, and you can kind of see Luthen and Clea panic, and then you can see them relax as the guy's like, oh yeah, the rebels pull off a heist, and then Luthen's like, oh, I'll go check in the back, see if we have anything, and he just goes to the back and he starts laughing. He knows he's won, and that scene was just so good.
Yeah, I have 2 things about that scene.
Mm-hmm.
One, I really like the whenever we ship to Luthen's shop, the lady's buying that piece of jewelry, and he comes over and he says there's an inscription on the back in a language that nobody knows anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you can tell he's pretending to be Luthen, the shop owner.
Yeah.
Where the lady's like, that's really sad. And he's like, oh, no, my lady, it's not. Because you can decide whatever it means. And then everything you said happens.
Right.
The other part is the kind of, because Luthen's shop is big, but not really. Like, and the back is kind of open. What do you think those people in the store thought whenever Luthen's just in the back of the shot, just,
You know what? That's a really good point. I did not consider that at all.
That was the first thing I thought of.
They probably just thought, because the guy makes a comment as Luthen is walking in. He says, oh, I'll go check if we have anything from Aldhani. And the guy was like, oh, I was just kidding, trying to make conversation about the robbery. So he probably just thought Luthen was weird, like got too excited about making a deal.
If I was in that shop, I'd be like, this man's insane. I need to get out of here now.
I really hope the doors are still unlocked. Yeah, no, I think you're completely right. They probably heard him. How much, I don't know, but that's what I would think. Or maybe I'd think that he got a hollow message and somebody sent him a joke. Or I don't think my mind would go straight to, oh, he was a part of the heist.
No, I wouldn't think that either. I would just think the man was insane.
Real. Well, I think that's all I had for this episode. Anything else, my friend?
No, I think that is it.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of Animal Squadron. If you want to be a part of this conversation, you can email us at animalsquadron@gmail.com. Again, that is animalsquadron@gmail.com. And if you could leave us a review wherever you're listening, that would be amazing. For the Animal Squadron, this has been MotherGoose.
And HouseDog.
Goodbye, everybody.
Tuck is dead. Goodbye.